We have a location where we can meet with clients, like an executive suite, similar to what you have here.
So no suit and tie kind of thing?
I haven't worn a suit and tie since your wedding. Yeah, serious.
Welcome to the Opposites Unite podcast.
Where we discuss real estate and lifestyle topics,
Break barriers,
build connections,
and find common ground.
Let's unite.
Today on our podcast, we have a very good friend of mine, Carlos Mario Jaramillo.
You got to bring in the Carlos.
Good that it started early. So tell me, what's your preferred name? Yes. Chaka.
No,
All right.
Mario.
Mario. Okay.
I told you, true story. I couldn't get a job out of law school as Carlos. nobody was saying. I didn't get interviews. They said Carlos Mario Jaramillo, and then everything I was very proud of, all Chicano Latino pre-law, La Raza, all that stuff, and then nobody was calling me up for interviews, and so I got rid of that stuff, abbreviated C. Mario Jaramillo. Boom.
All of a sudden, the phone starts ringing?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Back in
Okay.
1998. Yeah.
Well, I guess Mario it is.
Well, I mean, and I just had to get a job, right?
Yeah.
I never denied my heritage. I'm proud Colombian, but I needed to get a job, needed to get in, and I knew that once I would get in, it'd be a different story.
Interesting. So tell me a little bit about yourself and your career. You're an attorney.
Yeah, I've been practicing for quite some time. Practicing since 1998, so 26 years or so. So I've seen a lot of changes in the industry over time. I mean, when I first went to law school, there wasn't even internet. I mean, it was barely used. I mean, laptops were grayscale. When I was graduating my last year of law school, we started getting an email. And at that point, when getting the email, that's when I go, what's this email stuff? I don't want anybody bothering me.
So everything was paper.
Oh yeah, everything was paper. You could type as well. Some people chose to use typewriters, that kind of stuff. It wasn't really fast at typing. Typing wasn't a thing back then, because again, everything was still handwriting, right? Handwriting stuff. And so, anyways, it was definitely an evolution. So you had to evolve with time, with this stuff.
So you cut your teeth on paper.
Yes.
I think I started real estate and we started on paper a little bit too,
Right.
but towards the last 10 years we've evolved out and now it's no paper, right?
Yeah, no. I mean, well, my office now is entirely virtual, right? So before it was brick and mortar. I worked for a couple of big law firms. Again, brick and mortar, you go into the office, you dress up in a suit every day, all that stuff. And then eventually when I opened up my own firm, it was brick and mortar as well. And then as we started expanding more and realizing that people are now not necessarily wanting to see their attorneys. I mean, nobody wakes up saying, I want to talk to a lawyer, see a lawyer today, but not really. We just adjusted with the times and became virtual. We've been virtual since before the pandemic, and so we service clients up and down the state, and I have attorneys up and down the state, but everybody either works from their home office, their own brick and mortar office, or works from home, that kind of stuff.
So it's not like go to your lawyer's office and get the documents done and hand
No,
signed.
you can.
It's a whole different way of doing it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, generally, if I had a lease in every single location, I go broke. Especially because primarily what my firm does is service legal plans, and so we offer discounted rates. So we just wouldn't be able to monetize it that way. But in every location that we have an office, a virtual office, we have a location where we can meet with clients. Like an executive suite. Similar to what you have here.
So no suit and tie kind of thing.
I haven't worn a suit and tie since your wedding. Yeah, serious. And that was rented, that kind of stuff. And
Well, now you get the fun shirts.
I wear obnoxious shirts all day.
Nice.
You kind of earn that right as you get older.
You get the cred for it.
Yes, exactly.
Nice. Yeah, I still don't do.
Well, you're
shirts.
meeting people on a regular basis. You're still. I talk to people all the time. Our office handles probably close to 1,000 consults or appointments a month on potential clients. So when I'm on the phone, no, it's game time. It's serious. People have a legal issue, a dilemma. We're talking, and so. But when I'm not on the clock, you like to have fun. Work hard, play harder, right?
Yeah, I think for us
and eat well.
and eat well. Well, we still meet with people,
Yeah.
right? And you show up to homes you've never been to, sometimes to people you've never met. So it is a little bit of nobody knows who's and it's unlike being in an office or
Right.
like, having a previous arrangement. Sometimes it's just completely like I've talked to you on the phone for like 20 minutes and then now we're meeting.
Yeah, and they have to wear the little booties.
Yeah, the booties in the houses.
The booties in the houses.
It happens. It still
I'm
happens.
surprised there's not a song out yet called "Booties in the House." Oh, that kind of stuff, right? But
There probably will be now.
yeah,
You're probably going to turn that into a meme right there.
Booty everywhere. Whatever song that was. Yeah, no, I mean, again, it's very for you. It's very hands-on, but also very virtual. Remember, there was a period of time where I actually tried doing this with you, and I got to give you credit. What you do and the services you offer your clients. It's hard. It wasn't easy. I couldn't do it.
It's a challenge, for sure.
Yeah,
well, I mean, it's definitely a service-based industry, and providing that to clients is key.
Right.
Right. I mean,
like key to their house.
A key to their house. Cliche thing to say, but
you need a drum. You need a drum set.
We'll work on. We'll get one.
Or
put
for
in
me,
here
for me, bongo drums.
Oh, there you go. So, tell me, Mario. Like, let's talk a little bit about what. Carlos. Oh no. So let's go. Tell me something about like with your legal experience. What's something that's happening a lot right now in your industry? Like it's the top topic.
Were you talking about real estate related or just?
Well, let's start with real estate and then maybe head into something that's not.
So, it's seasonal, I would say, right? Because we have a full service law firm. So, oftentimes, let's say, for example, at the beginning of the year, we get a lot of estate plans. We do tons of estate plans throughout our multiple offices. And why? Because people start the year going, okay, I want to get off my list. I want to do this estate plan, get it out of the way, et cetera, et cetera. And then as time goes on, you start seeing, like, let's say with people moving, which is probably you see, people move in, they kind of like, well, depending where they're in their life, a lot of people align themselves with the schools, right?
Right,
so
right, the kids.
Right. So and with schools also comes, college leases, all that kind of stuff too. So we're dealing with a lot of landlord-tenant issues, leases, real estate agreements, real estate transactions that we're reviewing, stuff like that. And that usually happens around the same time that people are moving. You get those issues, right? And then funny thing is towards the end of the, or in the beginning of the year also we get a lot of divorces, family law. So my hunch on that is it calms down during the holidays because nobody wants to get divorced during the holidays.
Right.
But they definitely want to get divorced before Valentine's Day,
So you have a little scramble there?
Yeah, so we see a lot of that. We see a big uptick. And then also when people get their tax refunds back and they want to do their estate plan, we see an uptick there as well. But everything else, as to what's a hot topic, it just depends on what their need is. With changes in laws, when there's changes in like landlord-tenant laws, we'll get a lot of inquiries on that kind of stuff. Changes on employment law, we'll see a lot of inquiries on that. But it just kind of varies.
Right on. We've been seeing a lot of changes on from a legal perspective, right, on the way that we as agents get paid.
Right.
So that's changed recently. Have you noticed anything different on your side? Because
Not yet.
a lot of people are saying that they want to go to a lawyer to have their contracts drawn up.
Yeah.
But you charge on a per contract basis, right?
Well, no, I charge either flat fee or hourly. But here's the thing, and again, I've been doing this for a while, and I'm also very risk averse. Right. The most important thing for me is that our firm provides key quality services to our clients. And we also are very transparent, give them the good, bad, and the ugly, and we don't undercut ourselves, right? We contemplate liability. Real estate transactions have high liability, as you know, from being in this industry for quite some time, and that's why realtors, brokers exist. You guys do this on the daily. When I seen attorneys, in my opinion, take on a matter and just go, okay, yeah, I'll just draft some contracts for you, what have you, that kind of stuff. Because as you know, the basic rule is, you just have to have, it has to satisfy what's called the statute of frauds. It has to be in writing, identify a purchase price, there will be consideration, an address, the parties, etc. So in many respects, you could sell a home or buy a home off of a napkin if you have the right things. But California adds more requirements to it, etc., largely because of litigation over the years. And those agreements get modified.
And those contracts get long, and the disclosures, and I mean, for us,
I think we talked about it once. You said like there's 12 different pieces, 12 different documents, or roughly around there, 11 to 12 that involve a full real estate transaction.
And it depends, right? It always depends because there's addendums, there's forms for specific things, HOAs. It's just fire now. Yeah. There's so many different things that have to get talked about and then explained to the buyer, and the seller has to make people aware of things. Anything that's a material fact, right? So all this bundled together turns into a lot of paperwork.
Right. But to get to your question as to when they come to me, and I've had it happen where they go, hey, we don't want to use a realtor, we want to use a broker, can we use you? I'll quote them the same amount of money that you would get on a percentage because, again, the liability.
Right.
And not only that, what I would do is I would handle the legal aspect of it, but I would bring in a seasoned realtor or broker to oversee and consult with, advise on things that I wouldn't necessarily see all the time, that kind of stuff.
Well,
but go ahead.
No, I was going to say visiting the property just per se.
Yeah,
You would never really. Would you
stuff.
ever go out?
I'm not a realtor broker. Oh, of course. Hey, look, you pay me my rate, I'll sing you lullabies, right? So I'll go out. But I mean, I know my place, right? I know my place. And so my concern for individuals out there that seek attorneys, and because a lot of people, they think that's going to be a low rate. They think it's going to be like, $500 flat, whatever. You might find those attorneys, but typically I find that to be either inexperienced attorneys or attorneys that really need the revenue, or attorneys that are on the outs, retiring, wrapping up shop, and they just don't, maybe they're very good at it, and maybe they could charge that rate, feel comfortable, or they just don't care. I don't know. But for me, it's important that you have a trusted realtor or broker involved in the transaction, for liability purposes, for being a team. I give this analogy. I tell people, like, look, if you need heart surgery, are you going to do it on your own, or are you just going to go find a general practitioner to perform heart surgery? No, you go. There's a team. There's a cardiologist, and there's a team around that cardiologist.
Right. Yeah.
And so I think that needs to be relayed more. Down the flip side of it, on the consumer side, where I understand their concerns, is like, let's say they're selling a house to their neighbor or to a friend, or they already have a buyer. Right, so I get it. They're like, well, I already have the buyer. You're not putting on MLS. I just need the transactions done. Well, that's where I see it's reasonable for them to negotiate a reasonable fee with a realtor broker as to what needs to be done. And we've done that. We've done that on transactions.
Well, it's because of the percentage of a transaction, we always look at it like the marketing portion is a cost. The showing to varied agents, brokers, opens, all that stuff, open houses. There's a cost allocated to all of that.
Charcuterie boards or whatever you guys do, the charcuterie boards.
Charcuterie boards?
Charcuterie.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get you. We're gonna have to get you a syllable.
Yeah, they're good.
Charcuterie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, on the previous home that you sold for, you guys did a lot. I mean, you and the team that you work with, turned that home into a model home. And that was incredible. And I think with that benefit, we were able to get, quite a bit above what probably would have sold had we not properly staged it or not properly put in the time and effort. And the risk that you take is you take that risk without getting paid yet. You just hope it sells. That's
always the thing and nobody really knows that because not every transaction does make it to the end. Right. And all the work that we put into that really is
that's why I think your fees are reasonable as for the way you guys charge. For me, I mean, if with contingency cases, same thing, right? So with personal injury cases, we get a lot of personal injury, we get a lot of class action cases. Those cases pay at the end. Sometimes they don't pay out. But we put that risk in with the belief that hopefully that'll happen. It will see, but for hourly or flat rate, no, we ask for money up front. We can't work with not knowing we're getting paid. So, I got to give you credit to where it's due. You put in a lot of work, a lot of effort, try to get this property sold, or put in a buyer in the home of their dreams, and then next thing you know, it doesn't go through for whatever reason.
And it doesn't go through for a series of things, right? Not always the fault of the buyer. Not always the fault of the seller or our client per se, right? Sometimes it just doesn't go through, and then that property, then we have to go start all over on another property, which for me, because I mean, once you, like you mentioned, the scenario where the buyer and the seller already know each other, right? All they need is somebody to help transact, and then there's still a lot of work that I know to do there, right? But it does cut out of the marketing and the showings and all that. The point is that if you are going in there and if that transaction doesn't go through, right, you charge them a set fee to do the contracts, do all that, then moving to another one, you charge again, right? And I have a client right now where we've gone in and out of four different transactions, or tried on 3, and then 1 we backed out because he went through some inspections and didn't like what he found. So, these are things where we put 4 transactions essentially together and it didn't work.
That's how it goes.
Yeah, and then we move on to the 5th, and hopefully we'll find them something that works for them. Right. Ideally, I'd like to show 1 home. I'd like to have them pay what it says it's paid worth, and then there'd be nothing wrong with the home, right? But it's never that way, and I tell people when we do home inspections, average of 40 to 45 things on a home inspection report that the inspector will flag as something that needs to be fixed.
Right. Yeah. That's just the way it works.
Yeah.
Well, I think what's important is, and I think you do this already, if not, review your process in doing so, is managing expectations from the get-go. This is how it works. There's what people tell you on how it works, and this is how it really works. And I do that same thing with my clients. I tell them this is how the law works, and this is how reality works when you apply the law to it. It doesn't always coincide. It's not always in sync. And so similar with you, if you manage those expectations early on, then people won't not get as frustrated with the process, knowing that it takes time to sell your home. It may take time. Careful with falling in love with the puppy dog before you realize that's parvo. When you fall in love with that home, and the next year the inspection flags a bunch of things that realize this isn't the right home for you.
Yeah,
right?
there's. I mean, I think we always put a home in a certain place in terms of value, right? Because the neighbor sold for same house next door was perfect,
right.
sold for this amount. This one is priced the same amount, but needs a roof and new plumbing and big expenses
right.
and you're like, no, that's not the same house.
Right.
And sometimes the sellers don't see that because that guy just sold. Why can't I just sell?
Right.
And then the deals don't work.
It's not the same.
Yeah. That's the parvo part, right? That you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's a metaphor I've heard you use before.
Yes.
Yeah, because it does happen, and some people get emotional. And you know what? If you're looking for the house and you're find the right house for you, and now you're looking at that house now having these issues. I see a lot of people wanting to screw it. I'll pay for the roof. Screw it. And you have to be like, hold on a second.
Well,
let's get some people to come in here and check this roof out.
Remember, I think it was during the pandemic that there was that time in the market where inventory was so low that people were just buying homes almost sight unseen. And there's still people do that by sight unseen if you get the right price, right? Because they just figure they'll flip it, they'll fix it, whatever. But there were times where people were waiving it. There were so many offers on a home that people were waiving inspections, waiving this.
I remember one home where I showed it and it was $1 million. And
it was a one-bedroom studio in Santa Monica?
No, it was in.
Do you remember that time we lectured at Google, and then you were used an example on what a home would cost, $600,000, 2-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and they started laughing at us because it was Northern California.
Yeah, and their base price is 1.3.
Yeah,
1.3 is a 1,300 square foot 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, like an old house.
Yeah.
At the time it was 1.3, and it's probably 1.8 now.
Yeah, that's
right?
Crazy,
and I'm talking about $600,000 homes because throughout the country the values change. If you go to the central United States, you're going to run into homes that are $300,000, $400,000. So when I struggle to know what to use. So the $1 million is kind of where I've been staying at.
Well, now, I remember earlier on we would joke around about, hey, did you get your $1 million listing yet? This is years ago.
Right.
And now it's like the norm is $1 million. The minimum, practically sometimes $1 million, if you want a SFR.
Yeah.
Single family residence,
no,
right? So
yeah.
It's just things have changed drastically.
In the more upscale communities out in this area, they're 1.2, 1.3. Yeah. That's kind of the medium price point. And
maybe you can get me one of those one of these days.
Yeah. It's a thing because we have people that need houses that are $800,000. We have people that need houses that are multi-millions.
Look,
right?
As you know, there were a period of time where I could barely buy steam off a hot dog, right? That kind of stuff, or get change for $1. And now things are a little bit different. But you have to fight for. It's important. You got to figure out what your budget is. What your budget is all in, Melrose, right? HOA fees, all that kind of stuff, taxes, special assessments, new homes. When they turn those new homes over, when they turn them over now to the HOA, and all of a sudden there's a new assessment that comes in, getting a pool, and your house gets reassessed. Uncle Sam they want their change.
They're going to get it one way or the other. Jesus, you said something right now, and it triggered something, and now I forgot what it was.
That's all right. I'm older than you, but you're getting there. Start taking that. What's it called?
What's that?
That one supplement that they always talk about. Preventum. No, it starts with a P. The supplement they always talk about. Prevagen. Prevagen.
What is that?
Like a brain memory supplement. I don't know. It's probably a placebo effect, but they're always pushing it. Like Prevagen. Take Prevagen. Oh. And it's people now old or older. Maybe they are our age. We just don't know that we're that older yet.
Well, you know what? It's just TV is pharmaceuticals.
Right.
It's 30% pharmaceuticals.
I just like hearing all the side effects. Okay, make sure you ask your doctor if you have the runs for 3 weeks straight. There might be an issue.
Well, that's the thing. It's like it cures anxiety, but part of it is that you're going to poop your pants.
Anxiety, but you're going to lose your left leg,
Yeah, but you're going to poop your pants.
Yeah,
exactly. It's like, I'm not going to be anxious out when I'm with people, but I'm going to have other problems. So it's like, Yeah, no.
No,
I think I'd rather stay home.
Yep. Yep.
Anyway, okay, so let's talk a little bit about other things that might be impactful. Like, okay, so I wanted to go back to the buyer broker agreement thing. Are you familiar with that?
Buyer broker agree. Oh, the new concept. Well, it always existed, but now it's kind of like more of a requirement, or you're gonna have to require it.
So we have to now have our buyers sign a buyer broker agreement, right?
Right.
So if I'm going to show you a house,
BB.
a BBRC,
BBA.
BB buyer broker.
I'd be careful with BBRC. That's a burrito at Pollo Loco.
Is it?
Love beans, bacon, rice, cheese. All right,
Okay, I did not know that.
BBA. BBA.
BBA.
Okay.
Okay, so if a now a buyer, if I want to show them a house, I have to have them sign a contract because technically the seller doesn't have a guarantee with me to pay me anymore.
Right.
So if I'm acting as a buyer's agent, right? So now I have to go to a buyer and tell them, okay, I'm going to charge you this much money to show you if we wind up closing on this
Right.
house.
Yeah, they don't pay out of pocket, but
No.
if
If the transaction closes, this is my agreed upon commission with you, right?
Right.
And then that works, and then there's different ways to do the contract with different, like to multiple homes, to only one home, and
have we done those already?
oh yeah, and then some contracts with some clients you have, they're 3 months long. So essentially you basically date your agent for 3 months, right? And then in that 3 months you go see houses, and you have a commitment to him, or her, or them. But you do that, you make that agreement, and then now you're at a fixed price. And the way that
Well, not a fixed price. You're at a percentage, or you can negotiate a fixed price.
well, that's
too.
what I mean by fixed. And in price, you're right. It's a fixed percentage.
Right.
Or a fixed price, whatever you agree on.
So let me ask you this: what happens? Because you know, like with new manufacturers, they cap as to what they pay out on percentages. So let's say, for example, if you have a buyer's broker agreement where you say you're charging 33% of the transaction, but they want to buy a new home, and the new home says we only pay out at 2%.
So depending on the way the agreement is with your client, right, and you can always write that in your agreement. I mean, you can really write it the way you want, but if it's a 3%, I would leave it open to a conversation, because what happens is you have to agree to pay it. If they don't pay it, then the buyer pays it, or at least the difference, right? Say it's 3 and then it's 2, then the buyer pays the 1.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does make sense. But then, how does the one could be quite a bit of money of additional down?
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a cost to it, right? And the idea being that you're having a conversation now and everything's negotiable.
Right.
Right. So people don't think that new construction is negotiable, but it absolutely is.
With the manufacturer as well.
Yeah.
I guess depending on if they want to.
Well, what do you consider the manufacturer? It's not like Ford,
Let's
like a
say
car
Toll
dealer.
Brothers.
Toll Brothers, right? They're a developer, right? And they're a builder. So if you are working with Toll Brothers, you go tell Toll Brothers, this is the agreement I have with my client.
Yeah.
Let's just say, okay, so this is where the rubber hits the road, right? If somebody wants
Where
to go
the
in there,
parvo hits the pooch.
all right.
Just kidding.
So let's just say they want to buy $1 million home,
Yes.
right? We have agreed on 3%, and these numbers are very non-fixed. So 3%, go to Toll Brothers. Let's not use their company, because I don't want to wind up in trouble with Toll Brothers.
Acme Homes.
Acme Development Company, right? They're a development project. So we go out, we see this property.
Wile E.
Coyote, is that where we're going with this one? What?
Roadrunner.
Roadrunner Enterprises.
All right, go ahead.
All right, so we're going to Roadrunner Enterprises.
Yeah.
They like this house. The house is $1 million. I've agreed to 3%, so that's $30,000.
Yeah.
They take on. They love this home, right? Turns out they
Buyers.
need to do 3.5% down payment. So they do $35,000, right? If they have like closing costs, there's always additional closing costs. But something that people never bring up is there are additional closing costs to buying a home, right? Escrow, title, and there's a long list. But so what happens is, let's just say they have all the cash in their bank and they are short, and they cannot afford to pay me that 1% difference. What I do is I negotiate with the developer, and I'm just honest. This is what we got. Do you guys want? Are you guys?
Is there a contingency in place so you could pull out of the deal and your client isn't stuck if the developer says nope?
Well, that's the difference. That's the thing is if you sign the contract already has to have that in it. So you don't put them in a position to owe more than they already because you're introducing your agreement to the developer already.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting how this stuff plays out.
It is. It is a little bit more responsibility on the buyer side, which is stressful, right? Because buyers, I mean, for me, like, this brings on some pressure to a buyer because a buyer now has to be aware that they have to pay their agent, right? So then it puts them in a scenario where maybe I just don't want to use an agent, right? But then it exposes them.
Or they may be more inclined now to try to find somebody who double ends the deal.
Right. And this is an instance where we're concerned.
So they walk in without agent, and then they get somebody that's a seller's agent, and that could be a good selling point for the seller's agent going, look, by signing up with me, I have more wiggle room on the commission because I'm representing both parties, and here's your full disclosure, yada, yada. Now I could go less on that commission that you're promising to pay me if you buy this house.
That is very true. The concern there is that person doesn't have any representation, right?
Well, they do. It's a dual agency.
Right.
There's a lot of hiccups with dual agencies, right? It's a big risk.
That's
it's a big risk for the industry, and then a big risk for a buyer and seller to jump in with somebody who's a dual agent. I mean, sometimes depending.
Yes, that's a concern, right? So, and usually what you're discussing is like 1 to 1.5%, right? So it's not a very big number to just kind of clear.
Right.
But
it's a good selling point for somebody having an open house. It's a good selling point for selling agent going, do you have an agent yet? No, that's good. Let me tell you why it's good. Under the new law, if you sign up with a buyer for a buyer's agent only, then there's a certain amount of percentage you have to negotiate and agree to. Whatever you sign up here with me and I represent you for this house, I could lessen that amount. I mean, I'm just saying it's just a marketing tool. Like you said, everything's negotiable.
It's a marketing tool on the seller side, right? Yeah, gotcha.
Which you handle both.
Right. So we work on both sides of that. It's something we as agents, what happens is that we don't like to cut people out.
Right.
And what happens is you send your client to a listing. You've been working with the client.
No, you got to respect that. I'm talking about people who walk in without it.
And this is what happens. And this is what used to happen before. Yeah. Okay, so now that you have a buyer-broker agreement, it's not going to happen anymore.
Right.
Because people are going to say, like, hey, do you have an agent?
Right.
Before there was no formal agreement, so people would say, hold on a second, can you represent me? Right? Knowing that they're really at the mercy of them being honest with them about the whole situation and not just completely hosing them with taking side of the seller, right? But like...
Explain this hosing thing.
No. That's a dark, deep...
It's a dank. It's a dank metaphor. A dank is when, I don't know, the dank is like super sarcastic.
Okay. I'm going to have to check my Wikipedia page for dank.
Ask ChatGPT. All right, go ahead.
That's the new thing. All right. So, okay, where were we talking? We
the buyer's broker's agreement.
Okay, so buyer broker's agreement, but we were talking about a specific topic within the buyer broker agreement.
Oh yeah, well,
somebody watching this is gonna be like, dude, no. I was listening to you. Now you lost me.
No, we're dealing with developers when they're negotiating their commissions.
Okay, so we were back at the $1 million deal, and what we were looking at is how that could, because it could potentially create an issue with a buyer, right? Not having enough money to buy this home because he has to pay his agent and that kind of thing, and that's where the conflict goes. Right. But the truth is, developers, they want to sell a home. Right? And it's a negotiation where any good agent would not put himself in the way of what it is. If the developer looks at his numbers, crunches his numbers, and goes, listen, I know you have an agent, but I'm sorry, I can't reduce it. I've reduced it so much as already. You can
it's a high demand home. Remember, some of these homes in new phases, new lots, big lots, all that kind of stuff. Right?
So you never want to find yourself in that position. But if you do, and as a good agent, you got to have a little bit of heart. You know what I mean? It's something that's kind of tough because everybody wants to live, right, and earn, but at the same time,
I want to live.
Well,
and earn.
I
don't want to get hosed.
I feel like saying something cliche like fully. Do you fully
Are
live?
you in good hands? I don't know.
Yeah, that's. So you want to be a good agent. You want to be a good agent. Do what's best for your people, right? And the ideal thing is to
people?
The people you work with that belong to you. You're the owner of these people.
Okay.
You're the steward of these people, Mario.
Steward. That's a good one. Steward. Okay.
I feel like it's a biblical term right there, dude.
No, steward. Yeah. No, it fits. All right.
Yeah, well, being a steward of the land. You know,
steward of the people is
you know what, man? Being an agent, you feel more like a steward of the land because you have to move people from land to land or property to property or house to house.
Purveyor of people, steward of land.
That's a lot. Now you're gonna make me go back to Wikipedia and like figure out all that and all the details of what all those words mean. ChatGPT is a better source for sure.
Yeah.
Wikipedia's 3-5 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Now it's all, AI's coming, man.
Yep.
Don't worry. Whatever you're saying right now, we're just going to use AI.
It's going to replace it. Yeah, exactly.
And you're going to come out and you're going to be saying something and like,
deep fakes.
Yeah, that's a thing. It's a lot of software. It makes it so difficult in California to be a landlord nowadays, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it just makes it so tenant friendly, and everybody knows California to be a tenant friendly state, and it makes it very liable. What would you recommend landlords do to protect themselves?
Well, so I mean, know the law, right? And so, but again, it's difficult. Oftentimes, they assume the law, or they don't think it's going to be that bad, that kind of thing. So, but I think there's a pamphlet that I provide almost everybody that contacts me, or many people that contact me regarding landlord-tenant inquiries, and it's a pamphlet put out by the California Department of Consumer Affairs. You can Google it, landlord-tenant rights in California, and so read it from start to finish, front to back, whatever. It cites the code section, cites the laws. It tells you everything you should do as a landlord and as a tenant, what your rights are. I mean, I think it should be a requirement to be a landlord. Okay, that's number one. Read that. Number two, if it's within your budget, hire a reputable property management company. Have them deal with the headaches, because they deal with it in mass, in volume, and then that way more of what you're dealing with is just getting a check every month, or what have you. That kind of stuff. Because, I mean, we've had it with our properties where all of a sudden somebody will call us, and they call it in most inopportune times or contact you saying they want their batteries replaced on a remote, that it's our responsibility. So then these little knick-knack, ticky-tack type of things, as well as other important things that just wear on you. Now,
is that a thing if like a tenant calls and says, hey, the remote control on, let's just say you have a ceiling fan with a battery that fails, like
right.
the battery's bad,
right.
And you've got regular batteries. What is that the responsibility of the?
Well, I mean, what's the responsibility of the landlord is for example, as I mentioned, stuff that requires safety and necessity. Smoke detectors, carbon dioxide. You got to replace those batteries. Another thing that's important as a landlord is I would periodically check on your tenants, because what people do, and we all do this, unfortunately. I mean, even as homeowners, you get that annoying beeping noise of a low battery when
at
people
2 a.m.
Yeah, and they disconnect it, and then they forget to go replace it or whatever. Just remove it. Not a big deal. You as a landlord won't know unless you go inspect the property.
The best place for a carbon monoxide or a smoke detector at 2 a.m. is in the refrigerator, because it's insulated and you won't hear chirping anymore. Tell me how. Of course, don't ever do that. But
that was
horrible advice, right?
Bad one,
yeah. But think about it. That's the best place to put it.
Dad joke F.
Bombed.
Yeah, exactly.
It's probably gonna bomb from a legal perspective too, because if you give anybody that advice,
you're not gonna put a smoke detector in there.
Oh hell, dude, no. But I mean, I'm just saying, 2 a.m. You don't have a 9-volt battery and it's beeping and you're not sleeping.
No, dude. No, no. You can disconnect it. You just gotta get up
I know, but the thing is, even if you unplug it and you take it off the ceiling and you unpop it off, it'll still keep chirping.
When you remove the battery.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then just slice it and get another one.
No, I'm telling you, like mine at home is.
You put yours in the fridge.
Actually, the last time it went under one of the beds. It just went under the bed.
Confessions of Edward Gonzalez.
Yeah, I know. My 2 a.m.
Oh, so you have done it. See, so everybody does it, because it always happens at 2 a.m. And then the other thing annoying about it is that you try to figure out which room it's in, right? Sometimes it's
you're just standing in the hallway with all the doors.
You're just standing around looking around. Okay, no. Oh, here.
Oh, you 2 a.m. sitting in your hallway, like going with all the doors open. It's a.
And who knows what you're doing at 2 a.m. They'll all of a sudden have to get up and get up on the
usually
steps.
Sleeping, man. Nowadays, back in the day, maybe a little more crazy stuff, but nowadays it's probably just a lot of sleeping.
Yeah, there you go. No, so anyway, so as a landlord, know your responsibilities. Another thing that, for example, as a landlord, require renter's insurance. Not only require renter's insurance at the signing of the lease, but also periodically ask for proof of insurance. Because what I've seen happen too is tenants will get insurance and then they'll stop paying it, and then you're thinking, oh, the tenant has insurance, you're fine. And then next thing you know, a claim comes in, you didn't get insurance because you relied on the tenant. Tenant never paid their insurance, and now you're out.
now they don't have any coverage, and
Well, for whatever the claim might be, but always get landlord liability insurance regardless, even if your renter has insurance.
right, but that doesn't cover their content, right?
No, landlord liability would cover like if a guest got injured on the property and you had knowledge of it, constructive notice, all that kind of stuff, that kind
But
of thing.
is that different? I mean, what if somebody just comes over, the pizza delivery guy comes in and to drop the pizza on the counter and falls?
Well, I mean, there's always attorneys are jerks. So they're gonna
Depends on what they make
go
of it.
after, they're gonna go after whatever pockets they can. But generally speaking, with landlord liability, you've had to have some sort of notice that would happen. That's where but if the tenant doesn't have insurance, then yeah, of course you're probably gonna kick in and they'll at least tender a defense and see if they can get you out of it. But generally speaking, if a pizza delivery guy trips, anybody here for a pizza? If it just trips and falls, that would fall on the tenant typically, unless it's a defect in the property that you knew of or should have known of. Now, as the landlord, you're responsible.
Wow.
Right? So
it gets sticky real fast,
parts.
right? I mean, being a landlord's a
Pizza,
challenge.
Sticky. Yeah.
Pizza sticky, yeah, especially if it falls. All right, let's get away from pizza, man. So let's. What other thing is happening in the real or the not? Let's go back over to the legal world, like in your profession, like because you handle several or different types of legal issues, right? It's not just real estate. It's
right.
What other topics are kind of happening a lot? Do you see happening a lot? I guess it's this type of. From what you said earlier, it was seasonal, right? It depends on
I see it
what
as
type
very
of year.
seasonal, but also seasonal could also mean is like if there's a push for certain policies, like usually when presidential elections change, immigration issues arise. So we see a flood. We have a very robust immigration department. So we have a flood of clients that want to apply now and get in now because they're afraid if there's a change in administration, what that's going to do to the borders, how's it going to close them, quote unquote, and how's it going to affect people that are already here as well as people that want to come over here. So immigration is always a hot topic, always, because that's a federal policy and that changes on the regular, right? That kind of stuff. And then the other thing that we start seeing too is like bankruptcies. When bankruptcies pick up, we have a robust bankruptcy department as well. And we didn't see that many this time, which I thought we would because of the pandemic. But that's when we got conversely, we got the inflation, right? There's so much money being dumped into the economy to help prevent people from bankruptcy. But when you start seeing things like restaurants closing, your mom and pop shops, shuttering down, all that kind of stuff, people getting out of the state, insurance coming out, then it usually gives some indicators like, okay, what's going to happen? Because with that, jobs go away, right? If jobs go away, how are they going to afford their mortgages or credit cards, all that kind of stuff.
So people
right?
tend to run, right? And they just
of course.
They cash out and run to another state that's usually less expensive. I mean, California, we get a lot of we get a lot of people, man, that just that leave the state and they just it's hard. The
other thing that I see on that is make sure when you leave, you know that you really want to leave, and if you're contemplating coming back, see if within your budget you could keep your home, rent it out, and then leave, test the waters elsewhere, be able to come back. Because I've seen a handful of times where people,
I have as well.
Yeah, where people leave, going
come back.
Forget California, they want to come back because they realize I don't like all these locusts, or mosquitoes, or being bit all the time, or the weather, or just it isn't what I thought it would be, right? Jobs, whatever the case may be.
I think when you go on vacation somewhere, it's different than living there for an extended period of time and climate.
Right, variety of things, right? Family, whatever it is, So then you try coming back, but then you're priced out. That kind of stuff. You don't have the money to get back into the market, to buy or
that's
whatever.
That's a tough thing because that's a big deal because especially right now, like we have a lot of problems with. And I was playing golf with a friend, and he was telling me he has a 2.9 rate.
Without me?
Yes, you won't play. I keep telling you to go play. Let's go.
I'll do private lessons.
Well, then do a private lesson.
You pay.
No.
My time's valuable.
That's why you're gonna go. That's why you're gonna get private lessons, so you don't have to go out there and figure it out yourself.
No, there's ants at that club.
There's ants at the club.
There's killer ants at that club.
No, there's no killer ants. Well, there's somebody that died.
Well, the killer ants.
I don't know if that dude died. Did that dude die? I don't remember.
Yeah, no, that dude's dead as dead.
Oh, wow.
But we don't know if the ants killed him or if he was
I doubt the
dead,
ants killed him. I think the guy
knocked out,
passed away.
Had a medical event.
Yeah, had a medical event.
The ants go
in the parking lot.
Yeah, and the ants go free food.
Yeah, it's an opportunity.
Didn't they say his face was already gone by the ants gone? No.
Oh Jesus.
Maybe that's a horror movie. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's some Saw 3 or something or 7 or whatever they're on now.
Have you ever zoomed in on an ant's face and see what it looks like?
No.
Do it. You got a magnifying glass?
No. I mean.
All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, your tangent about ant faces.
Killer ants.
Okay, so
Not to be confused with killer tias, like killer ants, like tias.
Tia,
They're those two.
Tia, yeah, we have some of the, yeah,
Yeah.
but some of them are just killer. but all right, so what were we? You threw me off with the ants, man. Oh, we're talking about the rates. Hold on, 2.9 and playing golf with a friend of mine. So he can't. I mean, him wanting to sell because he's going to have to get rid of his 2.9 rate, and now he's going to.
That's a low rate.
Yeah.
When are you going to see that again?
So now, like, you're around 6, right?
Yeah.
And we just seen a recent reduction, and it's supposed to. People were saying half point drop. Now we've seen the half point drop, but it's been over the last 3 months, and people are expecting it to drop another half. It's like you almost feel like telling people, yeah, it dropped, and then when they figure out, it's like, well, hold on, like it was this yesterday. If they tell you that, but most people don't even know what it is, and that's why they're kind of because they haven't been looking over the last 3 months. And if you see a graph, you'll see it go down, right? Anyways, it's still not 2.9.
It won't be 2.9.
Right.
Unless we get another pandemic.
Well, I mean, they're pacing 2 more 25 basis point hits, so another 0.5% by the end of the year, and then maybe another % next year. So if
a percent? You mean spread out over the next year?
Over the next year, right? So if you see some gradual, and it'll always, obviously if inflation picks back up,
4 something.
Yeah. So if you're in the 4s, again, not 2.9. So at what point? And the thing that I warn people a lot about is all this time that you're not doing this, the prices are just going up.
Right.
Right. So if you're in the market and let's say you already own a home, your equity will continue to climb with it. So you're somewhat safeguarded.
Yeah, but at what point do incomes not match the equity climb and the increase in price? That's what's always astounding.
Well, you know what? I talked to a friend and he.
You have another friend besides me?
Yeah, I got 2.
Carrie, do you know this?
So I talked to him about his salary, and over the last 4 or 5 years, his salary doubled. And I was like, wow.
I'm just thinking, I mean, granted, prices always go. I mean, look, if you look back historically, a car that you would purchase 20 years ago is going to cost a lot less for the same car, new with the same.
Well, this is what we're talking about: the homes, cars, groceries. But what the difference is the salaries. That's like what I think what the question was, right? And where are the salaries growing? And if we're not getting
proportionate?
Yeah. And I think the lag is in the income, right? Because the other products will always go up. And they'll sell for as much as they can, especially with all the, money that came in with using the money that came in from COVID, right?
Right. Well, the other thing to take into consideration, we won't see the full effects yet, is how AI changes the industry. I mean, from what I've understood, AI has changed the film industry drastically. I mean, now you could have full-on sets created with AI as if they're there, as compared to actually going off-site, going and taking a whole crew with you, right, to Canada. You could replicate Canada on your computer instead of traveling to Canada with an entire crew whose livelihood depends on that set and being on set to be able to make that movie at a much cheaper.
That's such a crazy concept on how they're leveraging the idea of filling a room full of writers to put together these concepts and these ideas to create scripts to get the actors. And now what they're doing is they're maybe just, I don't know exactly how they're doing it, but I'm assuming they're punching it into some ChatGPT with some add-ons to build scripts and write scripts in record time. And maybe they just pay somebody to really spruce them up or review them. On Fiverr or something like that. Yeah.
No, it's true. I mean, but so the point being is, to what extent, like AI, I think is very beneficial. It helped my industry quite a bit on that. It helps streamline the researching process. Because laws are very fluid and they change regularly, right? But what is AI going to do on taking people's jobs? Like for me, the AI's probably replaced quite a bit on. I'm sure there are tons of people that jump on AI to get a legal question answered rather than ask me. But so I figure out how can I play a role within AI, working with it rather than fighting it, right?
Well. Okay, so now this new thing that I saw from Elon Musk and that robot. Have you seen that robot?
Which one?
Max?
The inflatable one?
No, I don't think that's a robot, but that's
the one you told me about that you had before you got married. Yeah, that inflatable robot. Who you looking at?
Carrie's like freaking like Mario.
Does the robot look like this? Has ponytails?
I'm gonna keep talking to the camera.
The
camera does not come on you.
Ponytails go to the side.
So
does your robot go, oh?
No, there's okay, so there's an AI robot that I don't know what part of Tesla, whatever it is creating it, right? It's Max or Prometheus or something. Anyways, that robot is going to be able to take most of the jobs of the common labor, right?
Right.
It will be able to slap a burger together. It will be
Right.
able to do some of these basic functions that
Yeah.
that we do. So you're talking about eliminating that industry,
Yep.
and then if you input AI, which makes it even faster, now you've got a robot that can do what let's just say a highly skilled mechanic could do.
Yeah.
You know, and it just the bar keeps getting raised, right? To
Right.
where it squeezes out lower level or lower.
Well, they're not necessarily low-level jobs. I mean, mechanics
No,
are really
but I
good
mean
money.
within a certain field, right? So you've
Yeah.
got people that are highly skilled, that you can't replace, but
Right.
you've got people that are doing the basic functions, right? Like a guy that can change a tire, a guy that these are pretty not as complicated functions as somebody who's diagnosing a very difficult
Right.
problem.
Well, hopefully these
right?
robots, like let's say, taking the mechanics analogy, can prevent cop cars from falling off a lift.
That happens.
Yeah.
That happens, and it's happened to me.
What?
What? Yeah.
What are the odds?
I know. I had a boo boo, and I dropped the cop car off a lift. Mind you,
The cop wasn't in it.
No, it was in for service.
We support law enforcement.
Yeah, exactly. And it was in for service, and I was working on it, and I made a mistake, and it had a transmission jack underneath it. It wound up
But you
sideways.
Yeah, that time you had your lazy eye, right? So you're probably looking one way, looking the other way,
Oh,
and then
Jesus Christ.
the car fell. I
Okay.
was trying to give you an excuse.
You're giving me something to edit out here.
All right, but go ahead with AI. So no, that's a concern. So these jobs are going to get eliminated, and they're not going to get replaced by humans. So then, what do people do for those jobs?
That's a very
normally would do.
interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's like you're chasing. It's like a zero-sum game. Like
Yeah.
everybody's running to the bottom, right?
Yeah,
It's
right.
like what's the race to the bottom where everybody's, and it's only really the highly skilled people that are going to have jobs, that have the skills that can't be replaced.
Well,
And then you start asking yourself, which are those?
Okay, but then maybe it's just a shift because maybe, I mean, for use of your terminology, highly skilled jobs, ones that are less skilled, not meaning that they're not as important because service is service, but does that mean we're going to see more delivery drivers? I'm not saying that isn't highly skilled. I'm saying that because more people are ordering, because the dynamics have changed again. Like, look how often now, I mean, you probably know a handful of people as I do, that all you do is order out. I know that my wife, grocery shopping, she doesn't go grocery shopping. We order delivery. So
Yeah.
there are more people that need fill in those positions, right? That kind of stuff.
Okay, so this is something I was telling you the other day, and again, about the artificial intelligence that goes into like Teslas, right? And how these cars are pretty much like Waymo, and they drive themselves. So if these cars are collecting all this information based off of the cameras, and if they can drive themselves, basically, if my car can take off and go down the street and pick up, let's say, somebody, and then they and take them to wherever they want to go and drop them off, and then come back and park itself, and it just charges them a set amount of money, right? So that's basically a taxi cab. My car
Right.
just took off on its own,
Right.
did a job because it knew I was going to be here for 2 hours,
Yeah,
and it
there's
just
gonna
earned me
there's
some
gonna be
money.
tons of regulations. The market will be flooded with that.
And this is what I'm trying to tell you is that I think that the supercomputers are able to do that now, and these cars are going to be dedicated to that. How you would regulate that a car doesn't get damaged when nobody's in it, right? That you don't go get your car back and your car's,
What did you tell me? It was
what was it?
sticky
Sticky?
icky in the car. You get the car back and it's got sticky icky. You
Sticky
don't know where
icky?
it came from.
Probably. Well, if somebody just had sex in your car and made
Hey,
a mess,
I didn't
is that what you're
refer to
saying? Is
that.
that what you're
No,
is that what
people
you're
could-
referring to?
No, you could sneeze and get boogers on it or
Oh,
whatever.
that sounds.
Sex.
That's wow,
Ah,
right? Like people don't do
jeez,
that.
sex and color.
People aren't gonna
See,
take your car and like take it for a drive and then go have sex in it and then return it back to you, right? That would be. There might be might be a new niche. People might install cameras in it.
No,
and,
what
like,
it'll be is that people
run
will
their own
then film
operation.
it because then the influencers will want to put it on their sites. Look what we did in Ever's car. We
That's
rented.
the thing is that it's probably going to go. Well, this is what I'm thinking. It's going to wind up being something like an Uber app, right? And you'll be able to you'll probably have the option of doing
I think
driverless or drivers. And then at the beginning, you're going to be like,
Yeah.
hell no, I don't want this car to drive by itself.
Right.
But then with time, and if I think that driver safety is at some point it's got to get there's a tipping point to where it's better than a human. Right now, if one of those things has an accident and it kills somebody, they'd want to take them all out. Yes. and it goes down for a long time, right? And I'm sure it costs the innovator or the whoever's developing that car a ton of money to pay off whatever. But how often in a day do humans make mistakes, right? And we kind of, I mean, obviously it's a different thing, but that's a touchy subject.
Yeah, I don't
Tell
know.
me what you think about that.
No, I think it needs to be heavily regulated. That's what I think.
I think it already is.
Well, no. I mean, no. I think we don't have it tested in mass use yet for driverless vehicles to properly regulate it. I don't think we're there. I mean, what's next? Like flying.
Unmanned drones picking you up.
Drones pick you up and fly. I mean,
you just put a backpack with a hook on it, and it just kind of picks you up.
Yeah, the Jetsons, right?
Yeah.
Meet George Jetson.
that just it sounds insane, but I think that's where things are going, and the driverless car thing is here. I'm telling you, it's here.
I know it's here. I'm curious how it's all going to roll out. Pun intended.
Yeah, I think it's going to roll out very soon. And it plays all into the AI stuff because that's all, again, now another field that you just took out, which is a driver, right? Now the skilled driver, I mean, you don't need a NASCAR driver to get you here and there.
I think you're going to see a lot of shifting of professions.
Right.
People shift. They're going to go, I mean, professions are going to pop up that and proliferate to where they haven't before. Other ones are going to go by way of the dinosaur, and that's just the way it's going to work.
But can you future cast any professions you think that are going to be really good?
Really good. I mean, anything involving social media. I mean, AI, obviously technology. I mean, specific professions in and of itself, no, I don't know. I think, no. I mean, it's tough to say. I think I'd have a tough time now. If somebody wanted to go to law school now, my first question would be why do you want to go? What do you expect out of it? Because there's, again, if law schools, in my opinion, told you exactly what it's like to practice law, it probably wouldn't have as high of a retention ratio but they're a business. They got to run a business too. And also you got to give people hope. There are a lot of opportunities in law. And I'm just using my professional example, a lot of opportunities. But it'd be nice, maybe it's different now than when I went to law school in the dark ages, where it'd be nice to have more clinical aspect, like more of a half a year of a clinical aspect rather than a class, where it really gives you a taste of different areas, kind of like you do rotations in medical school. You do different areas of medicine to see what is it you like, and also what is that not just you like, what is it that you fit best in as to where you could be recruited from. So maybe you go in, for example, law school, you go in like I did I went into law school thinking I want to be an international attorney. I want to negotiate deals internationally. I picture myself in a Lear jet, flying, across to Dubai, the world, whatever. Next thing you know, it's like, no, I became a litigator. And then now I own my own firm, which is awesome, but I'm not in a private jet.
It took a different direction.
I'm afraid of a Cessna, that kind of stuff. But but giving people, I think that with many schools, and I know that we're deviating here, but let's include AI, let's include technology. I think that if you put people as they're starting to create their career or pursue a profession into a clinical, very important clinical aspect of it, you're gonna help weed people out as well as. And maybe it's not right for them, as well as help focus and fine tune what areas within that profession are best for them. Right?
Thinning the herd.
Thinning the herd. Well, not thinning the herd because you're helping the herd, right?
Right.
Yeah, you're
putting
you're thinning the herd, you're feeding the herd, you're maximizing the herd's potential.
Yeah. So, right? But it just gets more precise, right? It gets more precision, and it's kind of.
So I think you're going to see more of that. Yeah. I think you're going to see more of that I think the consumer is going to expect that. So one of the reasons why my firm is fully virtual and why it was before the pandemic is because the consumer's mentality has changed. I call it the Amazon.com generation, right? Where as a result of everybody who buys off Amazon, because we all do, you now want everything now. You want to do it in your bedroom, off of your desk. You don't want to go anywhere. You want to have solutions now for everything. So we've modified our work product, our workflow to fit those needs. So we're constantly evolving, right? And so even just recently, my team and I, we had a discussion of, okay, how can we get attorneys on the phone even quicker, with potential clients across all areas of law, because people want answers now. It's just that's how the psyche is. On Amazon, you click now, you start getting upset if it takes over a week to get a package.
A couple days.
Yeah, you want a couple days.
Anything more than 2 days, you're like, what am I getting?
Right. What's going on? What's the delay? Right. And then, or customer support or a refund now. With Amazon, if you want to refund something, you just said refund. Thanks. You're going to the local Whole Foods store, local drop it off, and you get a credit by the time you get home. It's showing your account. So that's changed the consumer mentality. And so with law, with my profession, we have to mix that or reconcile that with the fact that law doesn't always move so fast. Courtrooms definitely don't move that fast. So depending on what your needs are, transactional stuff that can move faster. Yes, I mean relatively speaking, because we work on tons of matters at any given time. So every client's important, right? So you have to kind of manage that. But with litigation, for example, court, no, that moves slow still. That was very slow. It does move quicker in the sense that ever since the pandemic, most courtrooms now, many offer Zoom appearances. So you have attorneys now that can maximize their time on minimizing travel time and working on more matters because they don't have to travel to court.
So can you do that now?
Yeah.
Is there already court by Zoom?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I remember during the pandemic that attorney that got the filter on.
The cat.
He was a cat?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a challenge.
Yeah.
But I guess eventually he'll work through it and he'll get on the other side of being a kitty lawyer.
And they like the kitties. Okay.
All right, so that's an interesting thing, man. That is gonna.
Who's man? He's Mario.
Mario, man. Man is a genetic. Let me explain to you what man means, man. Man.
You're a steward of the people.
I'm a steward of the people. Of the land and not the people.
Oh, sorry.
People.
Your people. Your
people
purveyor,
and the land.
Purveyor of the people.
Purveyor of the people. Okay. All right. So well done. I wanted to get back into more about this AI thing because I think that's really there's more there, but it takes a little bit of peeling back because getting these people that are, especially the younger generation, right, that doesn't understand.
I think what's younger generation now these days, right? Because I mean, they're different generation. Like there are people now that have grown up always having the internet. Internet didn't exist at one point when I grew up.
But picture yourself being 15 years old, right?
Right.
You have a phone that gets you anything you want, and like you mentioned, and if you have a credit card attached to it, it gets you everything you want.
It's dangerous.
At your door, right?
Right.
So if you, I mean, as opposed to when, well, I guess we're gonna date ourselves anyways. What the hell? But like, you had to go to the store to see what was available.
Right.
You couldn't shop it, and if you got a catalog, you had to order the catalog. Maybe the TV.
Oh yeah, I used to order
channels.
what was the one with the bikinis, man? I used to order before I could go in get the magazines I really wanted to get over over at 7-Eleven, whatever. I would order the bikini catalogs just to check out all the hot chicks in the bikinis.
Bikini catalog.
Yeah.
Was it the swimsuit catalog?
SI. Well, that was always the best one.
Sports Illustrated.
Yeah, that was always the best one every year, right? To watch that one. But no, there was another one I forgot, but not Banana Republic. Ipanema or something like that. So you would get the that helped me get through puberty.
That's getting a little curious topic there. Maybe not where we were going with AI, but it is the evolution of what. Okay, so even that.
No, but now from like you said, everything can be done from your phone.
No longer. Yeah, imagine at 15 you can get all that.
Well, and that's why I said is that professions evolve, right, and opportunities evolve because there's also changing the mentality of that 15-year-old, because now knowing they could do everything with technology, knowing the different movements of these technological parts or whatever.
How do you set those expectations?
I don't know, because I speak a different language. It's just different. Because I wasn't raised that way, and so the question also becomes that how were they? You have issues now with people being socially inept, not knowing how to handle themselves, or you have issues where relationships are very fleeting because it's always easy to jump to another one online or what have you, or people that could get destroyed morally or what have you because of people spreading lies online that go quickly catch on fire, pictures, fakes, all that stuff. I mean, it's tough being a teenager these days, in my opinion. Back in my day, when electricity first came out, that kind of stuff. I mean, for the most part, steamboat. So there's only one in Disneyland, I think now.
What, a steamboat?
There's a steamboat that goes around Tom Sawyer Island in Disneyland. Okay, but in my day, you knew what went on in your neighborhood, in your immediate neighborhood, and maybe what went on at your school, and that
everything was hyper local.
Yes, hyper local. That sounds like a good rapper name, by the way. Hyper loco, start.
That's a
opening up today.
That's going to be a new.
Open up today,
that's your new name.
Hyper Loco. DJ Hyper Loco. So, anyways, so it was, but I miss those days, right? So because not everything always became so intense and so blown out of proportion, and you see that a lot now. You see, I mean, I can't tell you probably seen how many times and it drives me nuts when people push, memes or pictures what they believe to be factual matters that never got cross checked, and it's not true.
It happens all the time.
Yeah, and then people base life changing decisions based on that. Or may judge others based on things that aren't
that's
true.
probably the bigger thing is
and
that they judge
unfortunate.
others.
That's unfortunate. I literally cross-check everything with ChatGPT. Not saying ChatGPT is perfect, but it's, because my friends will rib each other on certain issues or whatever, and they'll post certain stats that they find, whatever. I go, okay, let's check if it's true. And half the time it's not true or it's
Well, see,
embellished.
that's even new. Before it was there was another site to check like fakes like that. Like what was it called? No, not. Okay, I can't remember it, but it was a site where you would spoof. Can't remember it. Anyways, if it comes back, I'll say it. But it was just a site where hopefully somebody had gone through the physical research to do it. But now, OpenAI or AI does that where it researches the web itself, and then it gives you insane.
Well, beyond the web, and then not only that, AI is constantly improving itself, right? So as it's improving itself, as it's learning by the inquiries that are put in and the responses that are given and the way the responses work with other responses, et cetera, it gets smarter and smarter and smarter.
One thing that tripped me out is that, and I was talking to one of our coaches, and he's an awesome AI guy, social media. Anyways, he was telling me that you get a different response from AI if you say please. Like if you're nice to it.
Yeah.
It's going to give you different responses than if you're rude or just demanding.
Yeah.
So like he recommended that I put when I put my queries in is that I start putting in please or what just in a more cordial way.
I try,
and it's going to give you more.
I want to get a more hip AI response, so I'll just say instead of please, I'll go
That's a thing.
Yeah,
man.
Too. But no, you're right. I mean, look, there. One of my favorite, I think I've told you about it. One of my favorite, pastimes with AI. Sometimes just posting a picture and going, okay, roast my friends or roast me or roast whatever, and it will roast you. It will roast you. And then what I found out by doing that, because somebody else told me, is like, ask it to go even deeper. Like, oh, come on, you got more than that. I mean, it's like talking to a person. Come on, you got more than that. And then AI will respond, okay, here we go, buckle up. And they'll roast it even harder. And then usually what I do the third time, okay, that was awesome. And give me the roast of all roasts. And it comes up with some brilliant stuff that you just laugh for hours.
Well, you would consider that to be wit, right?
Yes.
Like when you could come up with that kind of
in nanoseconds. I mean, it's nuts. Yeah.
Imagine having a rap battle, or a roast battle with AI.
Yeah. Then you could lose. You lose everything.
Yeah, you'd get smoked.
You just got to turn off the computer.
That's how you win, right? You just
unplug
it.
Yeah, and you unplug it. Who's laughing now?
Well, I don't know, man. It's your computer.
And then it replugs itself. I'm here.
Yeah, I reallocated power from a different source.
Yes, exactly.
Now
I've
what?
reallocated source from your mama. It starts roasting you like that.
And you're in the dozens with the AI.
Yeah, exactly.
And a nonstop battle because you can't unplug it.
Yes, exactly. I'm still here.
So you're crying in the corner, sucking on your thumb.
Well,
the damn thing
it goes back to that one movie,
you to
The
death.
Space Odyssey, right? Was it that one where you had? I think it was Hal, the computer that kept talking when eventually started disobeying the commands of the astronaut, and eventually they both died or whatever. I think it's Odyssey 2000 or Hal.
I didn't see that one.
Yeah, no, it's but
Similar thing?
that's where we're at now.
Yeah,
or getting there. And then what's even trippier is how does AI affect things on an international field, right? I mean, now look, wars are being fought with drones.
I would say, and I'm a little bit hesitant to talk about this, but like those pagers that went off.
Oh yeah.
That's technology,
Mine went
man.
off. Yeah.
I know. I mean, I don't even want to joke about that.
No,
that's pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
But like that's tech. People are leveraging technology to do what they want to do, and it's
and now that it worked, guess what's going to happen? Now it's going to be a thing that enemies are going to use go against other enemy states, right? So wherever they've used an enemy, it's like, oh wow. I mean, but at the same time, people have talked for years on, how surprised we are that people haven't, enemies of state have tried to infiltrate the air conditioning systems in stadiums, right? To poison people. Or look at what they say happened over in Cuba years ago, where we had a bunch of diplomats that were sick at whatever place that we don't have an embassy there, but we have something else similar to it, where people getting their ears busted. busted or whatever because of this inaudible sound that was affecting their equilibrium or whatever. I mean, I could be a little bit off on that, pun intended. But people were getting ill. So, and I think that was
you're talking about that weapon, right?
Yeah. So people are testing those. There are sonar weapons all day long. I'm surprised they're not used more. Where you could not even firing a weapon, you just totally throw off a ship or whatever, and just by way of sonar,
Well, I do remember I forgot what year it was, and it wasn't that long ago where they infiltrated Iraq's nuclear program, and they changed the coding in the computer to.
It was Iran.
Yeah. You're right, Iran. Yeah. And they slowed down the cooling fans.
Yeah.
Just enough to where it would overheat and fail.
Yep.
That's
brilliance. But again, when does it stop?
Right. And when does it not create an issue where it can create a potential real big problem?
When can you not even fight off an enemy, no matter how much technology you have? Like, for example, with Putin and Russia, you have these, what do you call this one mother, Satan's mother, or whatever you call this one missile that's hypersonic that could beat past all these, intergalactic defenses and what have you to just arrive and create a nuclear event in the U.S. I mean, that's mutual. It's almost guaranteed. When I studied it in college, I was a poli-sci international relations major. It's a mutually asserted destruction. So long as not mutually agreed destruction, but mutual destruction. Because it's gonna, once it gets fired,
it's gonna take out everybody.
Yeah. No, but not only that, you're gonna take out everybody. I mean, you're gonna fire too, and then everybody's gonna be done, right? That kind of stuff. But one thing that's interesting, if you read certain reports out there, certain articles, they say that the most targeted cities for nuclear attack aren't necessarily the big populous cities like L.A., New York, Miami, or what have you, that kind of stuff. D.C. It's where you have the silos. It's where the silos are located. Because if they're able to take out your silos.
How do you know where the silos are located?
Oh, come on. They know.
I did talk to one guy, and he told me a few locations. Well,
you can probably ask ChatGPT where the silos.
Dude, don't do that. I'm almost afraid to ask ChatGPT because then it'll start looking.
It has limitations.
Yeah, I hope so.
But I mean, but again, at the same time, are those heavily guarded as well, right?
I would hope so.
But I feel bad for whatever farmers living above
right next door.
Yeah, right next door. You hear something, Gertrude?
Boom. Yeah, that's freaky, man. All right, I think we went dark. Down a dark rabbit hole. I think dank is a slang word for some type of drug.
No, it isn't.
Yes.
No, that's why they call them dank memes. Look up.
Okay,
dank
it may be an outdated drug term,
no.
but I think it had.
I don't know what kind of drugs you did growing up, man. But
it wasn't a drug that I did.
Nobody ever told me, you want to take a hit of this dank?
I saw it on the TV.
No, dank memes. Like dank, they're very witty. They're very.
That's maybe a more modern interpretation of it.
Like skibbity.
All right,
no cap.
Let me do your current generation rendition of slang.
On a Rizzo. Riz. No cap. Yeah. On God, for real.
All right, now we're gonna put you on a. We're gonna have to do a video where your daughter gives or your son gives you.
My son does
he just gives you eyeballs or something.
When I try it, no. Now my son is like, I'm trying to understand when he says yes or no. It depends on the ch. Like, so I think means whatever. Means okay, you're being silly, Dad, and no, yes, I don't know. They're grunts at this point when you're dealing with a 15-year-old.
Well, yeah, that's kind of the language at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatevs.
And then the rest is slang.
Yeah.
Right on. All right, man. So I think we got Mr. Mario, Mr. Charlie.
Yeah.
Carlos, a.k.a. Kill.
Thanks for tuning in to the Opposites Unite podcast. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to leave a comment for a chance to get a shout out in our next video. See you next time.